Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right then. Kent will be just a minute late. Welcome to the Wednesday, February 12th, 2025 Garrison Board of Education regular workshop and business meeting. Dr. Lee, call the roll, please.
Jocelyn Apostolo. Eric Arnold.
Here.
Jennifer Harrison Wilson. Here. Dan Jasnow. Here. Peter Lesser.
Here.
Ken Schott.
On his way.
Sarah Thomas.
Here. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for adjusting your schedules this evening so that we could meet an hour earlier. Appreciate everyone's flexibility. We are now up to accept agenda changes. Does anyone have any changes on the agenda? Okay. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby accept the agenda as presented. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? All right. Grant, you're up. Superintendent's report.
Great, thank you very much. Good evening, Board of Education, community members, audience members. It's always nice to have an audience. We usually don't have an audience, so.
Oh, it's so fun.
My remarks will be brief tonight because of the impending snow or whatever is coming. It is coming.
The more you talk about it, the less likely.
Good, because we want to be in school on time. A couple of things. First, I want to start with, always like to do a lens in a school and celebrate incredible accomplishment of our students. And this, I'm excited to share. We just found out about it last week. But one of our own students won the National Science Teaching Association Award called the Angela Award. And our own Lucy Aronson, 7th grade, was awarded last week this prestigious award. It is awarded to one female student in grades 5 to 8 who demonstrates an excellence of involvement, has strong connections to science. They have sustained accomplishments and progress and really interest in science. And that their interest in science has impacted others. And if you know Lucy, like I'm starting to get to know Lucy when you're in class with her, her insight, her passion, she does impact others. She is a remarkable young person, and we are going to do this right, and at the Youth Climate Summit, present her with this award. But I wanted to congratulate and thank Ms. Arbor, who helped her apply for this award and recommended her. And congratulations, Lucy. We're so proud of you. Yes. I want to make a few brief remarks, and Dan, you're welcome to help me at this point. I wanted to update the community of where we're at with respect to the discussion around an SRO or an SPO. As you know, we created a board task force that has already met, and we had some great discussions. There was a lot of questions. Some of our follow-up items were to go visit another pre-K through 8 school, Mechanical Hills, which we did earlier this week and had a great visit, and we look forward to bringing some of that information back. But some of the questions that came up that maybe community members have as well is, well, what does Garrison have? What have we done to keep everybody safe and secure thus far? So I wanted to just go over a few things with the community that the district has recently really made some incredible improvements in security. It's not the only improvements, as I said at the beginning of my comments about this. All these are pieces of a portfolio. First is we have an upgraded security camera system that has motion detection. It has upgraded resolution from what we previously had. It has recording and storage capabilities, as well as the ability for us to access the camera remotely if no one is here. So that's number one. Number two, with our capital improvement projects, we've done a lot of door hardening and access controls. Our external doors all lock electronically. They're always locked. We've also upgraded the cores of our interior locks and made sure that our interior locks, that only certain people have certain keys and that they're upgraded locks. Each staff member is assigned a key fob, uniquely assigned to them, and every staff member has unique access rights, when they can access the building, when they can't access the building. And it's programmed also that we know when people come in and out, because there's a lot of every time, I use my fob, it is locked. What door I entered, when I entered. The other thing that people asked about is, yes, we do have a door notification if it's left ajar for too long. Our custodial staff, Joe, they get a email and a text to say, like, this door's been open for a set period of time. I'm not gonna let everybody know what it is, but it's more than just letting kids out for recess. Then we go and we check the door. So that's really important for everybody to know that is since the capital project. The other thing is we have a visitor management system. It's called the Raptor system. It requires, and for those of you who've come and visited our building who are non-employees, we ask for your ID. That is cross-referenced with a national database to look for sex offenders, criminal activity, any issues that people who should not be in this building aren't there. We've also created a holding vestibule so we can have people before they enter the building, when they're buzzed into the main office, we have a holding vestibule in case there's any issues with letting them into the interior. The last thing is, as you know, we have new IDs. When I got here, not everybody had IDs, and so we made sure that, particularly, we're so small, we know everybody, but in the event of the emergency, staff need to be identified as staff, so that if first responders here, we know that, so we upgraded our photo ID system, our protocols, as well as our equipment. The last thing people asked about was, well, what kind of training do you have? What training does our staff have? What sort of SEL programs do we have? And I think it's important to know that we're kind of on the cutting edge, if not with the rest of the pack. We have ongoing training for our building emergency response team by Putnam, Northern Westchester, BOCES Regional Safety Services. So we're constantly looking at best practices, looking at our plans, practicing tabletops, things of that nature. Our clinical staff is trained in dialectical behavioral therapy to help with our students. They're also trained in therapeutic crisis intervention, safety care, which is de-escalation and physical management. And recently they've been trained, well, not recently, but they've been trained in the Columbia Suicide Risk Severity Rating Scale, which is really a risk or threat assessment. So our staff is very well trained. There's not much more we can do with our staff in terms of training, though we will always do ongoing refresher training. Last is our SEL programming is incredibly strong here. We have a full-time school psychologist and a full-time school counselor. They are involved in the activities, the daily lives of our staff and our students. We have a bunch of SEL programs, social emotional learning programs. We implement Yale Ruler, Move This World, Everyday Speech. And we even have a middle school advisory program when we want to talk about topics with certain grades, the whole middle school, to really unpack social emotional topics to keep connected with our students. And so what are we considering? Certainly, there's a task force. Certainly there's a future considerations. There's a task force. We are exploring a school resource officer or a special patrol officer. We're also looking into upgrading, and this is something that we started but never finished, looking at upgrading our mass notification and incident management system. I think we can get there pretty quickly. And then there's other violence prevention programs, such as, just to give an example, Say Something, Say Hello from Sandy Hook Promise. We can kind of look at those things as a possible thing to kind of educate our kids about being upstanders as opposed to bystanders. So today, I sent out a survey with the community. We want to make sure that I send it through Parent Square. So it is sent through digest notification. So if you didn't get it yet, you'll get it at your preferred time. If you're really excited about doing a survey, you can check out our website. It's there. We're also doing a mailer to all of the Garrison residents. And we encourage all the Garrison Union Free School District, people who are voters or eligible to vote, to complete the survey. And if you respond by March 3rd, that's going to really help us in terms of the engagement with the school community. Moving on, just a couple notes and reminders. I'm really excited to, February 13th, 2025, that's tomorrow, is our Garrison Talent Show. Just a reminder, please don't send your kids to school on Monday, the February 17th to 21st, we won't be here. So that's mid-winter break. And our board meeting, our next board meeting is March 5th, and it's also our first budget presentation. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the board regarding? Do you have any? Oh, okay. Thank you. Great. We're going to go ahead then and move on to the board communications and presentations. We have a second review and adoption of the 2025-2026 school calendar. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District approves and adopts the school calendar for the 2025-2026 school year as presented. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. Do I have any questions on the school calendar as presented? I will note that while we is up for approval tonight, we can amend this if need arises at a future date. This is not like parking, no, but it allows us to start. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstentions. Thank you. This brings us to the first public comment of this evening. Public comment is intended for members of the community to speak openly and voice concerns. In accordance with policy 1510 of the Garrison Union Free School District, any person wishing to speak shall comply with all provisions of this policy. Comments about specific school personnel or individual students is a violation of board policy. Concerns regarding students or personnel should be discussed privately with the superintendent or appropriate administrators. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and speakers are asked to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. The board will listen to comments but will not engage in dialogue. Any necessary follow-up will be noted and provided through the appropriate channel. Members of the public wishing to comment during board meetings are asked to place their name and town of residence on the sign-in sheet. Commenters will be invited to the podium to address the board. And we have commenters this evening. First, I would like to invite up Dean Anderson, please, to the podium. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on this subject. I am going to address the safety officer in this school. I'm a former student a long time ago, former board member, community resident. I love this town, I love this school. I think we have great students and especially some great teachers. But I'm primarily asking that you really consider having a safety officer in the school. Primarily because we can never tell when something is going to happen, and we're going to have somebody in the school who can mitigate any emergency situation anytime. We can never allow this, or give this up to the police department. While we have great police departments around here, they're just too far away. It takes a lot of time to have let's say, unless they're sitting right out here with lights, to respond, to get the call, to fully control it, and then to respond and know where they're supposed to go and how to address it. That's just one person in a control car. We really must have some system here because we cannot depend on it. Just because we're in a big geographical area and we can't expect anybody to show up right away. We must have somebody right here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for serving the board. Next up, I have Matt Green of Garrison.
Do I have to speak into this? Everyone hear me?
It just allows it to be caught on recording, please. I
Got it.
appreciate it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Hi, board members. My name is Matt Green. I'm a father of a first grader in the school and 2 up-and-coming preschoolers. I'm here to discuss the decision on whether or not to have an SRO or an SPO here at Garrison. In my opinion, the decision comes down to what the teachers feel is necessary. They're the ones in school on a daily basis, teaching and educating our children. If they don't feel safe, they can't do their jobs. Garrison takes pride on providing a top-notch education, yet we aren't allowing our teachers to perform their job to the best of their abilities. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem this decision is as simple as what the teachers want. So here's my perspective on the matter. Think of it like insurance. Definitely not a fun topic to discuss, similar to an SRO, but we've all thought about it. None of us expect to die at an early age, but we get insurance to protect our families in case something happens. Hopefully those premiums go to waste. But I'd much rather that than leave my family with nothing because I felt it could never happen to me. If the concern for an SRO officer is paying the premium, wouldn't you rather pay it and then have more safety rather than not paying it and need it? A lot of us don't stop there when planning for our families. We put our money away for rainy days. We set up retirement funds or other type of accounts. We try to build a comprehensive plan as best as we can. That should be the same mentality for building a safety net for our children and teachers. Over the past few years, there's been safety upgrades to the building, but we can't stop there. The cameras, do they stop an active shooter? The doors locked, are they bulletproof? Will they stop someone from breaking them to gain access? We saw people at the front door, but I imagine there's at least 10 other doors in this building from the outside and many other windows that come in. We have SEL programs to help in the school, but we can't stop outside threats with that. You don't need to look any farther than Sandy Hook for an example of an outside shooter. I know people like to point at the data and say there's nothing that shows an SRO deals with an active shooter, but that's only part of the story. What's never discussed is the deterrence that an SRO officer has on shooters. If something isn't an easy target, the shooter might think twice upon acting on their plan. Isn't that the strategy for all the upgrades we've already put into the building? Those are deterrences, not something to solve the problem. Why is an SRO the only option that's being viewed as an all or nothing for stopping a shooter? I know people like to point at guns, scare kids, but do those people avoid airports? Do they avoid traveling to the city via train? Do they not send their kids to school when there's a lockdown drill and officers present? I have a couple questions I want to put out there, and I know the board can't answer them, but over the last year, there was $13 million approved in the budget. How much of that went to securing the school? I know $30,000 went to a new sign, $15,000 to a biodigester, $20,000 to artwork on the walls, but what was put towards security? Over the last 4 years, I assume it was over $40 million. How much of that went to security? Was it even 1%? How much of the school budget goes towards safety in general? How much, would the board view the safety in the school right now as adequate? If we were discussing our academics as adequate, I think we would take immediate actions to improve it. We aren't going to go and put an SRO in place. We need to seek transparency on how we're protecting the school and has everything that's been discussed and put into place officially. How often are we checking to make sure those systems work? How often are we reevaluating, or does the board feel everything has been accomplished? How much money has actually been spent on improving the school? At the end of the day, the people who are in the school every day who need to feel safe doing their job are the people whose opinions matter most. They are pro and SRO, and the reality that's all should matter. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to continued transparency.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Lauren Johnson for the GTA.
Good evening, I'm back again, and there's a hat today. Sorry. Different role right now. So good evening, board members, community members. My name's Lauren Johnson. I'm a co-president of the Garrison Teachers Union, and I'm here representing the teachers and the SRPs. I first want to start with thanking the board with forming the task force and bringing the discussions out to the community about an SRO and SPO. We've had this come up many years, and this is the first time we're really, kind of like moving it forward. So thank you. So the Garrison Teachers Association does, as you know, and I'm speaking to the public at this point, strongly support the presence of a school resource officer or a special patrol officer here at our school. We believe that having an SRO or SPO in our school is an important next step toward ensuring the safety and well-being of students and staff, fostering a safe and positive learning environment, and adding a layer of protection we do not currently have for our school community. SROs and SPOs are key partners in preventing and addressing safety concerns in school environments as they work with the educational experts in the local districts to keep our most precious community members, the children, safe. our students. Their presence allows for a quick, informed response to emergencies, which can significantly reduce the potential for harm and dramatically decrease the response time if additional support is ever necessary. It's important to recognize that SROs and SPOs are especially trained to work in a school environment. They are equipped not only with law enforcement skills, but also with the knowledge of the unique challenges schools face in supporting students' emotional and behavioral needs. In times of crisis, their training and de-escalation techniques can help to diffuse potentially volatile situations, ensuring that all students are treated with dignity and respect. While some may raise concerns that the presence of law enforcement in schools, we strongly believe that with proper training and being integrated into our school community, SROs and SPOs are an invaluable resource. By providing safe guidance and support, they continue to create a secure environment and nurturing environment in which our students can thrive academically, emotionally, and socially. We are currently the only school campus in Putnam County without an SRO or an SPO. There are 10 SROs and 14 SPOs at schools within Putnam County at a total of 19 schools. Some middle school and high schools have both. Every elementary school in Putnam County has an SRO or an SPO dedicated to their building, even on shared campuses where there may be somebody in another building on that campus, with the exception where Haldane shares one for 2 buildings. We urge the Board of Education to consider the positive impact an SRO and SPO can have in our school and take the steps to ensure that one is in place for the upcoming school year. Our teachers, staff, students, and families will greatly benefit from this community safety. Thank you for your time and consideration, and we look forward to working together to ensure the best possible environment for all of our members and for the school community.
Next, I have Debbie Earle for the GTA.
So just to start off, I am speaking on behalf of myself. As you all know, I've been here for 27 years. I was in the same spot. Someone brought to my attention 13 years ago asking for the same thing. Brewster High School, Henry Wells Middle School, C.B. Starr Intermediate School, John F. Kennedy Elementary School, Carmel High School, George Fisher Middle School, Kent Primary School, Kent Elementary School, Matthew Patterson Elementary School, Haldane High School, Haldane Middle School, Haldane Elementary School, Van Pack High School, Van Pack Middle School, Van Pack Falls Elementary School, Lakeview Elementary School, Fulmar Road Elementary School, Austin Road Elementary School, Putnam Valley High School, Putnam Valley Middle School, Putnam Valley Elementary School. All of these schools have uniformed officers present every day to protect their students and staff. Garrison School, the one school in Putnam County with nothing, no protection, no security, no peace of mind for each and every staff member whose job it is to teach, supervise, and ultimately protect the 215 children in our school. If that alone isn't enough to convince our community that we should have an SRO or an SPO in our building, I'd like to tell you about the many data-backed benefits of having a school resource officer. 1, reduced crime and violence. Studies show that SROs can help decrease incidents of violence, bullying, and illegal activities on school grounds. 2, faster response to emergencies, which we know is important here. SROs provide immediate law enforcement response in crisis situations, reducing response times for active threats or medical emergencies. 3, improved student perception of safety. Surveys indicate that students and staff often feel safer in schools with an SRO presence, which can contribute to better learning environments. 4, reduction in bullying and vandalism. Schools with SROs often see fewer cases of bullying and property damage due to increased supervision and intervention. 5, enhanced emergency preparedness. SROs assist in developing and implementing school safety plans, conducting drills, ensuring staff and students are prepared for various emergencies. 6, stronger community and police relationships. Positive daily interactions between students and SROs can help build trust in law enforcement and improve relationships between police and the local community. 7, support for at-risk students. SROs often mentor students and provide guidance, helping at-risk youth avoid negative influences and stay on a positive path. 8, lower rates of weapon possession. Data suggests that schools with an SRO presence are less likely to experience incidents involving weapons on campus. For those of you that don't know the specifics about an SRO, their primary duty is to protect the school's environment and to maintain an atmosphere where students, teachers, and staff feel safe enough to learn and teach. The SRO is an educator, law enforcer, a counselor. They visit classrooms, they teach students concepts of safety, traffic laws, general law, crime prevention. They work closely with individual teachers to create special programs tailored to specific units of study. They provide a positive image of law enforcement in an effort to help young people make constructive choices in their lives. They build relationships. Many students come forward to discuss issues with SROs. In fact, students are encouraged to seek individual attention from a school resource officer. In regards to the discipline, the SRO conducts investigations with the school administrators in accordance with New York State law, school district policy, and the policy of the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. They are not disciplinarians. An SRO receives many hours of specialized training after undergoing a lengthy screening process. These officers want to be in a school working with kids. They want to create positive relationships with kids. They want kids to feel safe. They want to be part of something great. I hope that the Garrison community shows their support for the teachers and students' right to be and feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment remains open if anybody wishes to add their name. You're welcome. Come on up. Come on. Just sign in for me there. No, I just.
I thought that Debbie's points that she made were slightly emotional for me as someone who has a kindergartner and a soon-to-be pre-K student at this school. All I can see is the reasons to do this, and I just can't see a single reason why not to. If it comes down to a budget, there surely can be money moved around to qualify for $80,000 a year for someone to protect the students and the teachers at the school. So I'd be interested to know the reasons not to do this, because I can't see a single one as a member of the community with children here. So that's, I guess, what I would like to know that information. Maybe that's something that's going to be talked about at another time, but that's it.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I'm Carrie. I
Thank
think
you.
you say that first.
Public comment still remains open. If anyone would like to speak, you're welcome to come up and sign in. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and keep us moving along and close public comment. There will be another time for public comment later in our meeting. Moving on, we're going on to accept the minutes. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District does hereby accept the minutes of the regular business meeting of January 22nd, 2025, and the minutes of the special meeting of February 4th, 2025 as presented. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes as presented, please? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Abstention. Thank you. Moving on, we have the Treasurer's Report and Claims Audit Report. Be resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby accepts the Treasurer's Report for January 2025 and the Claims Audit Report for January 2025 as presented. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Do I have any questions or comments on the reports as presented? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Thank you. Moving on, we have committee reports. Kent, you're up with the Finance Committee report. And thank you for the lovely minutes, they're great.
So the Finance Committee met, I don't have, I just have, so it was in
January 24th.
January 24th. And went through preliminary budget with Joe, Dr. Stoll. We really just kind of went through some of the anticipated cost drivers, where we stand with revenue, with fund balance. Generally, things are, I would say, I'm not going to ruin the preview of our March 5th budget meeting where we unveil what we're doing, but things are looking very positive. We're in pretty good shape financially, thanks to the great work that Joe and the rest of the team have done over the past few years. So we'll be presenting that on March 5th, and excited to present that to you.
Do you have any questions for Kent on Finance Committee report? If anyone wants to go back and think about where our numbers are, you could always read the audit report. that came out in October, which really sort of sets up where we're gonna talk about with the budget. It's on the website, anyone can read it. Okay, sorry, had to get that in there. Moving on, the DEI committee met, Jocelyn?
Hi, so the DEI committee met yesterday afternoon and discussed pretty much three things. One, we heard an update from the building level folks about the assemblies and et cetera, you know, classroom presentations that they're having to teach the dispositions. And they seem like they're going well, so it's great that they're working on that because it's linked to one of the planning committee goals, which is to kind of have the students self-assess themselves on those dispositions rather than have it be part of like a report card assessment. The second thing we talked about was DEI and the current political climate. Just because of all of the things that are happening at the federal level, what does it mean for us at the local level? We're being very committed to the values of diversity. And third, we discussed the community book reading, which will roll out in March. I think most of the books are in. There's one book for 4th through 8th graders that they'll be reading. I'm not going to ruin the surprise just in case. And then there'll be 3 books that the pre-K and 3rd graders will get. And it'll be a 3-week calendar that will involve school assemblies, hopefully things that will be sent home to the families so that they can engage their young ones on books. That's all. Anything I missed here?
For anyone who doesn't usually attend, the Vogue references the vision of the graduate, but we just abbreviated to the product. Okay, thank you. Do I have any questions for Jocelyn or the DEI committee? Thank you. Moving on then, that brings us to the Budget Advisory Committee. Jen, you're up.
Hi, so the Budget Advisory Committee met on January 31st. Our charge for this year was to research the possibility of bringing lunch service to the Garrison School, to explore different possibilities, including partnering with other districts, offering limited service, full service, etc., and if necessary, to explore the cost of hiring an outside consultant may be able to help with this request, and that was charge was given to us by the Finance Committee. We had a really great meeting where we brainstormed all kinds of ideas, from adding an extra day to who could partner with us to is our kitchen functional. We concluded that we really needed to do a lot of research. So different people took on the research. I'm part of the meeting too. Special thanks to Greg and Joe for putting together a really nice presentation on all of the legal considerations and requirements to have a full cafeteria service. So the committee is considering it all right now in order to figure out what information we want to share back to the board. We're meeting again on February 26th when a bunch of us will have all done our different research parts, come back together and see what we should go next. Is there anything you'd like to add to this?
No.
Thank you. Do I have any questions for the Budget Advisory Committee?
I guess that's why I have to provide snacks at board meetings because I know you have questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Moving on to Policy Committee, Mrs. Eugene.
Okay, so we met on February 4th, and we reviewed 11 policies, which are the next steps. We concluded that one policy needs to be sent to the attorney for review. We are working on, reviewed, right, one, that was it. Sorry. We also have 9 policies coming tonight, brought to the board for the first reading. You want me to talk about them when we get to the first reading?
Yeah, let's wait
Okay.
and do them one at a time to read out what they are. I think that'll be clear.
And then we determined that there was one policy that is a suggested policy, but not a required policy, about having a high school student being a board member that we're not recommending we move forward.
Do I have any questions for the Policy Committee? Yeah. That brings us to the CSE, CPSE recommendations. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District approve the Committee on Special Education, CSE, and the Committee on Preschool Special Education, CPSE, recommendations and student placement. May I have a motion, please? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? All right, we're back to policy. So, for the policy readings, the first one up is policy 3310, public access to records.
So this is a policy recommendation as per Erie 1 to add language that the district must notify a current or prior employee if someone has foiled the disciplinary records. And so we are recommending that we make this change as requested by the service that we use, and our attorney has reviewed it.
Everyone have a chance to read it? Do I have any questions for the policy committee on this before we see it again? Okay. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead then and move on to B, first reading of policy 5683, evacuation, lockdown, and emergency drills.
So this is a modification to our current policy, which mostly shifts some language as to how everyone says we should refer to different types of drills. And also in the summer, if we hold summer school, it says that we'll have one drill, but only if we're holding summer school, as opposed to automatically having a drill. Again, the attorney has reviewed this policy.
And the changes are in blue, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any questions on this policy? Our first reading. Okay. Thank you. If you do have questions, board members, between now and then when we see it for second reading, please email. Next, we have first reading of policy 7220, graduation requirements.
So this is a new policy that is recommended through our Erie 1 service. We wanted to make sure that it covered our 8th graders, even though it's about graduation. We wanted to make sure our 8th graders were covered for high school credit and online courses. Again, this was reviewed by the attorney, and those are the changes that were recommended or added to them. So it's a new policy from Erie 1, but we made changes to it because we tailored it for our K-8 district.
Do you have any questions on this policy as written?
I think the only question I have is the added part about online coursework. It's in here, so just want to make sure we can actually follow through with it. It seems new. I don't know if anyone's ready.
I know we offered it.
Yeah, great, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
It looks like it's a new thing, so I didn't know.
Well, in the event that we have a student, even a student who accommodations require online access, or if in the event that we do use an online course, the policy needs to cover that it'll count towards graduation requirements. So we left it in purposely, even though we don't have a course right now offered online. It's really important to have a policy that covers, particularly for students with accommodations that need access to online, our policy will cover.
Covers blended too. They're here and then they're out of school.
Any other questions on this policy? Go ahead and move on to first reading of policy 7224, virtual instruction.
So this is a more detailed policy regarding virtual instruction that provides guidance around virtual and blended learning instruction, which is not required, but maybe needed in certain circumstances. And this is a new policy that has been recommended by Erie 1, and our attorney has recommended that we adopt this.
Do you have any questions? Thank you. Moving on, we have a first reading of policy 7513, meds and personal care items.
So this is a modification to a policy that we already have. I would say the biggest change in this was language about potassium iodine and also albuterol being available for students. Dr. Stoll and Nurse Melissa worked on this, and we also have the attorney.
Do you have any questions? Thank you. Moving on, we have first reading of policy 7521, students with life-threatening illnesses.
This is another policy that we reviewed to make some minimal changes in the language that's used. And again, Nurse Melissa and Dr. Stoll reviewed this as well as the attorney.
Do you have any questions? Yep. First reading of policy 7554, equal education opportunity.
So this is a modification of the policy that we have with the section about married and pregnant students being removed. So the only change in the policy is we're removing that because that becomes its own separate policy, and the attorney reviewed this as well, but I know.
Yeah, I have a question on it.
I know what I remember what your question is.
Good.
So you were wondering why students who were like migrants were.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
it's kind of like that, in that there's protected classes. And given the fact that the AG from New York State has come out saying that schools are mandated by New York State law to provide an education to students regardless of immigration status or their parents' immigration status. But also, of course, we know housing status, right, because of McKinney-Vento.
Yeah.
It doesn't say either of those in this policy. I know they're not legal protected classes, but should there be a mention that you will not discriminate based on
Documented status or
or immigration status? Or, I don't know the right words, but I feel like it might come up in the coming.
I would suggest referring that to council to get the specific language. Can you do that for the second reading, please? Thank you. Do I have any other questions on this policy, equal education opportunities? Yeah. Next up, we have a first reading of policy 7555, educational services for married pregnant students.
So this removes the language that was in the equal education opportunities policy and creates it as its own policy. We did modify it a bit, what was sent down from Jury One, because we are a district, but we need to cover our potentially married or pregnant students.
Do I have any questions regarding this policy? Okay. Next, I have a first reading of policy 8330, objection to instructional materials and controversial issues.
So this is a modification of a policy we already have that puts in place more of a procedure. The previous policy was just, I believe, an appeal to the superintendent. And this puts in a process by which an appeal happens, the superintendent appoints someone to look at that appeal. Then if the result of that can then be appealed to the superintendent and ultimately to the board. It's intended for things that are being taught or learned and not to be appealing other topics that are not part of the.
So by that you mean that it would be for a specific book in a curriculum, not say the entire curriculum or an outside topic that is.
It could, if I may, it could be any curricular item that someone in the community has objection to. And really, we had a policy for it. This just clearly delineates the procedure so that who is ever making that complaint, which is their right, understands what the procedure is and how a decision is rendered, and gives them the right to ultimately appeal to the Board of Education.
I just have a question on the final sentence that was added. It's very vague, and I don't know if we can maybe tighten it up, or if it can be explained briefly.
So the sentence you're questioning are any complaints about controversial issues being taught shall follow the same process and procedure as
So
allowed.
it could not be curriculum, but like when I was a classroom teacher, I loved to teach about the rainfall. So if I happen to be teaching about the rainfall, it's not necessarily part of the curriculum that it's being taught.
Okay, so it's just that it's controversial issues being taught, should it just be issues?
I would,
I mean, it doesn't have to be controversial, I don't know, I'm just.
everyone has their own definition of what that means.
Just a- No.
We can take a look at it. I mean, it's really, there's New York State standards, so those things that we teach that are part of the New York State standards, you can't, I mean, I guess you could object to it. It's just kind of covering a process where there's a project that we're doing and someone says, I don't like that project.
Right.
So it's not really curriculum, it's an activity, but it's instructionally related, and that's why that sentence is in there.
I would think covering the presidential election could fall under that, where you might be teaching about the presidential election coming up, it's not part of the formal.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, I just think that it just seemed like it was a vague sentence. I don't know, but maybe.
We ran it by the attorney.
All complaints go through the same process.
We can amend however the board.
I don't really have a suggestion, I just want to make sure I'm understanding why we're thrown in.
I would
I'm glad to
suggest-
have more protection that there's a process, so.
Yeah, I mean, the word controversial kind of needing the witness in a way. Maybe there's something there about.
Mhm.
Yeah. maybe just-
Okay.
So for the next meeting, it sounds like maybe we remove that word. Everyone think about this policy, and if you have further thoughts, we can discuss them prior to the second reading.
And just quickly, I think it's issues, so, but you gave an example of projects
Right.
or topics like the presidential election, so I just don't know if, do we need to make issues into a longer thing, or issues as issues?
Yeah. I think that's worth it.
Send all your summons for issues in
Yeah,
before
that's
the next
Okay,
reading.
that's your.
Yeah. You got this? All right, Peter. Yeah. All right, we'll revisit this one, and again, if everyone's not comfortable to be keep looking at it, so please send your thoughts in. Those are great suggestions. Thank you very much, Policy Committee, you guys look busy. I'm going to keep us moving along. We're going to go on to the personnel consent agenda. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approves the items of the personnel consent agenda as presented. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. These are very straightforward, so just going to go ahead and move to a vote. Unless anyone has any questions or concerns. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Yep. Moving on to new business. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approves the new business items as presented. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. Do you have any questions on the budget transfer or the real property tax service contract? No? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? This brings us to our second public comment section of the evening. I'm not going to read the whole paragraph again, but the same policy 510 applies. If anyone wishes to speak, you're welcome to come up and sign in. I'm going to go ahead then and close public comments. So hope everyone's getting up. I did promise to keep this one moving along. That brings me to board member comment. I get a prize right, for under 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Jocelyn. Eric?
Sure. Just a first quick congrats to Lucy Berenson. Great job there. And then just a quick thank you to everyone for sharing your thoughts on school safety and SRO. I appreciate you all coming tonight. I would love to see you at some of the less interesting meetings too. Hope I speak for the board on that one generally, but and I hope that everyone either side of this issue will take into consideration the slide that Dr. Stoll shared on future considerations. That really stood out to me because it had 3 things on equal levels there: an SRO, an alert system, and violence prevention education. And I'm not on the task force, but I've done a lot of research on this issue. I'll continue to. And some of that research has included speaking a few times with a former state trooper who now does school security. And in terms of how we move forward, I really view those 3 things that Dr. Stoll put up as legs of a tripod. You pull one out and you get the rest. I feel like we have to really consider a more holistic approach. I don't view this necessarily as a do we SRO or do we not SRO. And so I'd like to thank everyone in the GTA for their thoughts and their contributions and their continued research. And I'd like to really encourage everyone in the community to really be creative and think about how those 3 things can fit together, not just generally, but specifically for us here in Garrison. And yeah, and let's continue to all work together on a really comprehensive approach forward. And please do participate in that survey and be as thoughtful as you can. Because again, I don't really view this as a black and white issue, and I think it will help all of us on board, the administration, the teachers, everybody, if we're thinking about this in a more holistic and creative way.
No comment.
Dan?
Yeah, thanks. So just to echo what Eric said and to provide a little bit of an update on the task force, I also just want to thank the community for sharing your opinions with us, for being here, for sharing facts and research, and particularly to the task force members and to the GTA, who I think have really leaned into this conversation. And I think it really has been a conversation, and I think a very constructive conversation, particularly at the first task force meeting that we had on January 27th, where we had 15 to 20 people, mix of community members, teachers, staff, and administration. And obviously this is an issue that elicits very strong feelings on all sides. But I thought that the conversation we were able to have was one where everybody sort of came prepared to listen and to hear different perspectives. And I thought it was just a great example of what we hope to teach our kids and what I'm sure happens in this building every day. So we are continuing, the work of the task force continues. We did go to Cantico Hills on Monday, which was very instructive. We are continuing to hear from a lot of parents and gather additional information like other examples of contracts that districts have with SROs or SPOs, and we're continuing to look at those. We're going to have our next task force meeting on February 27th, where we will, I believe, hear from the Putnam County Sheriff's Office, which runs the SRO SPO program. I believe we're going to hear from somebody from Haldane about their program potentially, hopefully. And obviously, we are putting out the survey. So please keep sharing, your perspectives on this. You can email me, Jocelyn and Peter, also on the task force as board representatives, Dr. Stoll or Sarah. So stay tuned, but I think so far, just want to share our appreciation for the involvement of the community in this very important decision.
Peter?
I just want to second what Dan and Eric both said. Being on the task force was great. I was really inspired by the fact that we all came together with an open mind. And we live in difficult times in our politics, and it's really nice to see people come together, look each other in the eye, be at the same table, be thoughtfully listening and speaking. And I just hope that we can do that around other issues that come up as well. Unfortunately, we don't get that many people at our board meetings, and I just hope we will in the future. So I think it was a great model for other decision-making and input that we can get in the future about other issues too. Thank you.
Yeah.
No comment.
I just have a couple of things this evening. Last week on our snow day, I joined the call with Representative Dana Levenberg, who has been a wonderful supporter of the Garrison School District in terms of funding, especially the past few years. So I did make a point of thanking her for that. This was a call arranged through the School Board Association for Westchester and Putnam. There were other districts on. I would say that one of the things I found interesting is a lot of the conversation was around the governor's cell phone ban. Districts are advocating strongly, I believe, for local control on that, and would like to have a say in that. And then we also talked, a lot of districts brought up more funding for pre-K. We'd all like to see more funding for pre-K, and the electric buses and how that is going to be funded, and how updates to our electrical grid will be handled. So those were some of the topics. And then every district is asking for everything they would like to have. We have a call tomorrow morning, right? With Senator Rawlinson, also with the School Board Association. He has also been a wonderful supporter of the Garrison School, lobbying for funding for us as well. So we've been very fortunate. If there's anything you would like me to bring up on this call, or Dr. Stoll to bring up, please let me know. You can think about it and email me, but it's a great opportunity for us. In the past, I've gone in with a concerted effort to these calls for money. We're in a great financial situation right now, but we can always lobby for more. So please send me your thoughts. And then on the issue of safety in the schools, I want to thank everyone for coming out. It is really lovely to have an audience and have people coming and sharing their thoughts. This is great. I also, it brought me back to years ago, we had, I mispronounced his last name, but Frank from Larry, thank you so much. Come and do a safety presentation. I know he does training with your staff, but it was informative. So it's something for board members to think about. We could add that to a future agenda. That is sort of a separate and apart from the topic of the SRO, but talks about what he does in terms of safety and planning. There was also a great article, I don't know if anyone saw it, on board, about his initiative. I don't know if it's his, but he seems to be like, did he start that?
It started in Albany and he read about it, so he reached out.
So if any child experiences any kind of trauma, then the school is notified, and they're not told what the trauma was, but just to be aware. And this is to help any kid, maybe the next day after a trauma, they fail a test or struggle somewhat. So that's what that situation, that's what that program is meant to do. I thought it was really interesting, but that's something also we can hear more about. So safety, as we talked about tonight, doesn't just include physical safety, but social. That's 28th of Rollins.
Yes.
Clearly, I didn't read my email soon enough, but the 28th, so you got lots of time to send me all your thoughts, and we will advocate for whatever you would like. That's good, 'cause I would have been sitting on Zoom tomorrow being like.
I promise I would have warned you that it wasn't tomorrow.
Sorry, that was a lot for me. That's all I've got this evening, though. All right, moving on to executive session. Be resolved, Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby enters into executive session for the purpose of discussing proposed, pending, or current litigation. May I have a motion, please? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions. All right, we will adjourn executive session without any further action being taken. Thank you so much.